Well, welcome to this next edition of Matt's Mates, and one bloke I've known, I guess, since 1985. I think it was
Uh,
Marty Woods turned up at a international youth year thing, and I was just a kid, and then there was a whole bunch of stuff. Marty was one of the lecturers at a course I did back in 1992. And I've known Marty for a long time. He's a pretty remarkable bloke who's lived in a number of different countries, and currently is living in Japan. Uh, Now, I just lost you there for a bit, Marty, but you're back, which is good. Um,
Sorry about this, Matt.
it's a, so tell us, mate, what are you doing in Japan?
Yeah, wow. Well, it's really nice to be one of your mates, Matt. Thanks. Yeah, look, I've always had this burning passion. I'll make this really quick. But when I was 10 years old, uh, I told my parents, I invited every kid in the class, 35 kids, to my birthday party, and then told my parents, I've always just loved bringing people together. And my parents, thankfully, they said, it's okay. And so I can remember having the best day, organising the games and bringing people together, because I never wanted anyone to be left out. And and that really set a marker, I think, for me. And ever since on my time in Fusion, the thing that I enjoyed most of all was bringing communities together to try to find ways. How can the church be at the heart of the community? And so, it was in Tassie actually, over 45 years ago, that festivals began at agricultural shows. So I feel like there's this rich heritage, and I'm just, it's great. On the £2 coin in the UK, they have standing on the shoulders of giants. And I reckon some of the giants are those that just kept going with developing festivals. And we've just taken it to a new level. The Sydney Olympics, we had 250,000 people. We got invited to move to Greece. So we were there. We were involved in China, in London, in Rio, and the churches in Japan. I'll never forget it. This guy came up to me as a key pastor in the church in Japan. He sat down with me. He looked me in the eye and he said, Marty, we need you to come to Japan. We want you for your grey hair. No one ever asked me that before. And he said, we want you to travel around and help people to see the opportunity the Olympics can bring to help the church to be in the community. Really sadly, the church here in Japan, probably 500,000 people of 127 million are at church on a Sunday. And it's growing old, but there's this new energy from young people and some pastors who say the Olympics is a moment. We began it, we were involved with the Rugby World Cup, and then now the Olympics, heading towards it. And so that's what we've been working towards. We were on such a roll, Matt. We had this goal, 500 communities, each community reaching out to 2,000 people, so we'd reach 1 million people. And we were going for it, and then the virus. It really just put the dampener on lots of things, all our training, our networking, the festivals. But we've just tried to be really positive and say, right, we've got another year. Come on, let's go for it. And so what we're doing is building this incredible team of people, Japanese people. I'm working with one guy that just says, give me Japan or I die. I'll die for Japan. He's so committed and living by faith. Gave away all his money the other day because he's just saying, this is it. This is my calling. And so I'm
Hmm.
working with people like that. It's so great. They're not caught up in politics or anything. They just want to use this moment to reach Japan. And so that's a long answer, Matt, but that's why we're here. We're about building the kingdom, doing whatever it takes to see Japan truly become the nation that God longs for it to be.
Which is, obviously the world's eyes have been on Japan and will be on Japan again next year. Um, what is the situation like with the virus there, mate? How's it
Yeah,
looking?
yeah. Yeah, well, at first, I don't think they tested a lot because they were still deciding whether the Olympics would be on. And so, that didn't seem to be very big. And as well, one of the things is because we bow a lot here and don't shake hands, wear masks all the time, it seems, and take our shoes off. Cleanliness is really important. And so the numbers were really low, and so things just kept going. Schools open, everything. Well, it seemed like the rest of the world was closing down. But unfortunately, things began to increase, and now we're up, I noticed this morning, over 12,000 cases. And so, yes, there's been states of emergencies. But what is so interesting, in the Japanese constitution, the government can't force people to do this. So restaurants are still open, people are still coming to work. We're being quite responsible as a church. We just went online for Easter, which was a shock, but, and been a hard choice. But yeah, it's almost like we're catching up to a lot of the world, but it isn't. It's nothing like what we've heard in Australia or certainly America or the UK. So we're still out quite a bit, but, we're obviously pretty careful.
So how is the church responding generally?
Yeah. Look, I know in our church, our pastor, he says every day, he says to God, what are you trying to say? He's a godly brother, and he's trying to say, and so he's been encouraging all of us to pray with Japanese people, because so many people are just anxious, what's going on. So what we're doing is we're really trying to help move people to the front foot. Our worship service, probably just like you guys, we just get so many more people online than people who turn up to our church. We've been forced to pray. We have a prayer meeting every morning at 5:30, but they had to close that. But online now, things are happening. We're moving online, and we have a worship night online. But what we're finding is that many of the churches have got quite proactive in using the internet, and trying to see, like many churches around the world, how we can respond to the needs of the community. So, trying to be proactive, but still, I think, bewildered, like it's not been something we've ever experienced, fits no one's framework. So I think we're still catching up, and we're really interested. Like, one of the things that we are starting to develop and push out is called Family Fit, where we're trying to get families to look at fitness. And so we're translating different things that are coming in, and trying to make it available for the church.
That's fantastic. Makes a lot of sense. How are you coping, mate?
It's a really great question. At first, it was so hard because we were on such a roll for the Olympics, and I didn't want to believe it, and my wife's a real stickler for, come on, we mustn't do this. And I just wanted to go out. So what we're doing, I do a fair bit of mentoring. I'm mentoring 10 Japanese guys. So I still keep doing that, sometimes on Zoom. But sometimes we just meet in the hills and worship together. So we're trying to find creative ways to move forward. And because we have an extra year, to prepare, we're using it. My life has really been in two areas. We're trying to network and build our kingdom base across Japan. So that's been good. But I'm also writing a book on mentoring, and I'm today at a friend's house who's a physiotherapist, and he's given me his house during the day, and this is my book writing place. And so by the end of the year, I'm going to have this book out. It's been a long project, but I'm really appreciating it. So I figured, redeem the time, make the most of it. That's what I'm trying to do.
And what's your sense of the next 6 months? Do you have a sense of this is going to get a lot worse there
Uh,
before it gets better, or?
yeah. Yeah, look, there's some prefectures where there's 47 prefectures across Japan. There's just not one case. It tends to be more Osaka and Tokyo, the two largest conurbations. But I do have this sense people are taking it more seriously. It's not quite, it seems quite amazing in Australia, the old bell curve flattening. Well, I don't know about Tassie, but certainly in New South Wales and Victoria, as I read it. But I think what I do sense, Matt, is the church is now stepping up and trying to do something. And so for me, I'm just trying to work alongside local churches. What can we do? How do we make the most of it? And I figured, well, I'm just not going to move to despair. I go running every morning. I do 10Ks, and that's when I pray. And that really helps me to stay connected and just really trying to hear the whole time, God, what are you saying? How do I make the most of this? So, yeah, I've got to tell you, a few weeks ago, I found myself feeling bewildered. What's going on? And Jen gave me an article on the feeling you have now is probably grief. And I think that was true. I was grieving. We had such dreams, such visions. We were going so well. So it's hard to just adjust, but now I feel like got my North Star back, know where I'm heading and going for it. So, yeah, I'm doing pretty well now. Thanks for asking.
So how could people be praying for Japan? Like, what's the best thing to be praying for the country there?
Yeah. Wow. It's difficult here in Japan. There's 137 different denominations, so there's not a lot of unity, and the church is aging. And so it's hard for the church to think outside the box. So I think this has forced us. We've had to think. We've had to close. We've had to look for creative ways. So I think I'd love to ask your friends to pray that the Japanese church would not feel powerless in this, but move to the front foot and look at different ways, like Family Fit, like how we do church differently, like worship together, like, using platforms like Zoom more proactively. So I think it's that, and that we could pray and come together and start preparing for all that next year is going to hold for us. Look, we don't know, isn't it the big question? What's going to happen? Things are, schools we hear are going to be starting fairly soon. But we just want the church to be proactive, to make the most of the opportunity. And then once the green light's there, we are just going to give everything over these next few weeks and months, I'd say, to make the most of the opportunity and build towards the Olympics. And it's not just the Olympics, because we have a goal of by 2024 to see 10 million people in the church. And we just think it's so great having a goal we're working towards, but we're not going to be put off by this, but we're going to go for it. And, the IOC, International Olympic Authority, what they're wanting more than anything is for the Olympics in 2021 to bring the world together and to be able to celebrate we've made it through the virus. So that's certainly our prayer.
That's great, mate. Just while you are running, I guess to finish off, and you are praying, do you have a sense of what God's been saying to you in it all?
Look, I think, Matt, I just keep hearing, trust me. I know. I'm here. I'm with you. And I'm not taken by surprise. And I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this to grow the kingdom. And so what is the new normal about to be after this? I don't know, but I sense God's hand in this because it's the biggest upending, how do you make sense of it, as I was saying, but I'm just looking to God and trusting and praying and saying, please, God, show us, lead us, and help us to respond in ways that the church can be still at the centre and the heart of the community.
Yeah, mate, that's great. Thanks for taking the time to have a chat.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, Matt. See ya.